Welcome into Mac and Mose. Andy McNamara, joined by the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, Rob Mosley. We're here to recap the Washington game and also to just sort of, it's kind of a good mid-season time to talk about maybe where this season goes forward. Washington comes into Autzen Stadium ranked number 5. I think that there was certainly a lot of expectations on the part of their fans that they were going to end the streak and that they had the better team this year. Well, turns out they did, but to the tune of 70 points. I don't know that anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, certainly not a surprise to see the Huskies end the streak. That's a really good Husky team and very deserving of a top 10 ranking and playoff consideration. But yeah, for it to be as one-sided as it was, you could tell it was an Oregon team that's confidence is lacking a little bit. And a Washington team that was fully prepared to exploit the weaknesses dogging the Ducks right now.
Now, I'm glass half full all the time. So, I look back at this game. I'm trying to pick out parts. The interception on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
Royce Freeman fumble. He doesn't fumble ever, and then to fumble inside the 10-yard line. Yeah. A couple things that just go the wrong way. I don't know that Oregon, is able to match up and win this game. I think that score might be a little bit deceptive, but the fact that they were able to run the ball so effectively, I was super impressed by them. Duck fans might not want to hear that, but they were just so balanced. Browning was awesome. The running backs were tremendous. The receivers were tremendous. And then on defense, coming in, that was kind of what they were hanging their hat on. They just seemed like a complete team, and a team that's going to have other teams in the conference are going to really have a tough time dealing with. That said, Justin Herbert gets his first start. Certainly didn't go how he wanted it to go, but I think that you could see things in his game and just his sort of demeanor out there, his passion after the game. This is a kid that was put in a really difficult situation, and I think he emerged from it with maybe some disappointment, but certainly nothing that's going to get him off track.
Yeah, that's a really tough spot to put him in. That's as good of a defense as the Ducks are going to face all year. He didn't take too many sacks, so he was getting helping get the front set and get the protection set before pre-snap. His completion percentage wasn't great, but I think like the first ball to Charles Nelson, probably needs to be caught. There might have been one or two throws he'd like to have back, but for a first game, the glimpses that he showed, both touchdown passes. The one rolling out to his left and then throwing back across the middle of the field to Tony James was just an amazing throw. He had another throw out to the wide side of the field to Darren Carrington out on the sideline that was just a dime. Checking down to Taj Griffin on his second touchdown pass just really showed a lot of headiness, a lot of maturity, a lot of the things that had guys so excited about him behind the scenes. And then after the game, he just didn't want to hear at all about those positive signs he showed. He was really crushed after this game. There was a sight, where he's sitting in front of his locker with his hands in his face in his hands, and David Yost, his position coach, just standing over him, kind of looking around. Like a protective dad, like, hey, my guy's wounded here. I'm going to stand over him and reassure him. Those relationships are strong. Those ties are solid. He's a guy they believe in. The passion's there, and that's the sort of thing you can build on.
Yeah, physically, you talk about the throws. The one to Taj Griffin too it was a touch pass. The fact that he kind of has those different throws in his arsenal already. Was very impressive. On those 3 scoring drives, 2 of them were touchdown passes. Another one was a rushing touchdown. But on those 3 drives, he only had 1 incompletion total. So when things were going and he was moving the offense, he got in a really good rhythm, and I think that's certainly encouraging going forward.
And we could see the confidence just to break in too, and just in practice today. This is a Thursday. We're filming this. They practiced twice. He looked as good. This is as good a practice as I've seen him have since the start of preseason camp. I think it's fair to say that he took a lot of confidence from that performance and is looking to build on it because he was really throwing the ball well today in practice.
So Herbert gets his first start against Washington. Nothing indicates that he's not going to continue to be the starter going forward. So Oregon hits the midpoint here at 2-4. Now, you look back, it seems like a year ago that we were talking about, an opportunity to win at Nebraska and then an opportunity to put Colorado away and be sitting, at 4-0. Didn't happen. So now Oregon is 2-4. The bowl game is still a possibility, but where does Oregon go from here this season, from this point to the end?
I mean, all you're worried about right now is that Cal game next Friday. And can you play well? Can you score more points? Can Herbert get the offense looking better? Can the defense tighten some things up? One thing we've heard, sort of obliquely, but enough times from Mark Helfrich in his media availabilities this week, is sort of simplifying some things, maybe cutting down on some things. I get the sense maybe there's a concern defensively that in order to plug gaps, they've been trying to do a bunch of different stuff, and that maybe the guys just have too much on their plate, and so maybe tone some things down defensively, play some things straight up. Brady Hoke spoke after the Washington State game about how maybe he needed to trust his guys to play a little bit more man. He was using too many zones, trying to do too many different things. So again, maybe there's a sense that they need to just tailor things down, just play things a little more straight up. Cal's going to be an offense. There's a lot of question marks right now. Their top receiver and their quarterback both have injury issues, so who knows what kind of an offense Oregon's going to have to face. But it's really all about the Ducks and getting things turned around, because there's games on this schedule that are winnable. Nobody in this conference outside of Washington looks dominant right now. Arizona State's got the record, but I don't think anybody who's watched them play has thought that's a world beater. So there's a lot of winnable games out there. But the Oregon team we've seen the last couple weeks certainly leads you to wonder just how many wins they can possibly grab towards the end of this season. Next Friday at Cal, they've really got to show the fight's there, and the coaches have to put them in position to make plays, and then guys have to just go out and make them.
Also, Oregon, we've talked about it at length, and it's certainly well documented, just the number of young players that are seeing significant time on both sides of the ball, and that's not going to change. You're going to have 4 redshirt freshmen on the offensive line. You're going to have some true freshmen starting on defense. I think we'll probably see more of Dylan Mitchell now that he's 100% working his way into the offense. So it's going to be an opportunity for these guys. Obviously, the goal is to win games, one at a time, but win games. But at the same time, you have guys that are getting a significant amount of experience, and win or lose, should be able to utilize that experience going forward, and hopefully basically come up with the direction for future Oregon teams.
What I'm really looking forward to seeing too is those young guys getting some credibility behind their voices, because there's some future leaders on this team. I think it is fair to say that there's a leadership deficiency overall on this team. Player-wise,
internally,
right?
Yes.
And that there's some young guys, that the Justin Herberts, the Brendan Schoolers, the Troy Dyes, Jake Hansen, Shane Lemieux, Bryson Young, that we've looked at as guys, said, hey, those are guys who are pretty vocal guys who do the right things. Once they get the credibility of quality playing time behind their back, they're going to be credible vocal leaders on this team, because leadership is a 3-pronged thing. You've got to be a vocal guy. You've got to have the credibility of your play on the field, and then you've got to have your character off the field in terms of doing the right things, going to class, showing up to meetings on time, showing up to all your strength and conditioning workouts. I think there's a lot of
parking in the parking lot you're supposed to park in.
Right, keeping the locker room clean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys on this team that have 2 of those 3 prongs. You have a Royce Freeman, who does everything right on the field and off the field, but is not real vocal. You have a guy like a Jeff Locke, who is a vocal guy and does everything right off the field, but unfortunately, the way things played out for him when he got playing time, the credibility's not quite there for him to totally utilize that voice. And you do have guys who want to be vocal and who make enough plays, but don't do all the right things off the field. And so when you see guys like Herbert coming up, like Bryson Young, like Brendan Schooler, like Troy Dye, that look like they have the potential for the total package, and then show it on the field and prove it on the field, this is a team that they can keep building up their credibility through the rest of this season, keep making plays, and hopefully get some wins, but keep building up some credibility. So when this team gets to the next year's offseason, there's going to be no bones about, when Shane Lemieux says, hey, I'm going to work out, you should be there. Guys will listen, and guys will show up and lift with Shane Lemieux.
Well, we'll be back before the Cal game to preview that. until then, if you have questions and comments, and I know you do, so feel free to leave those on Facebook. You can get to us on Twitter. I'm at McNamara UO. He is at Duck Football. Until next time, we'll see you.